This is a production of SDPB.
We've spent the last few years highlighting football and basketball with Tales from the Gridiron and Tales from the Hardwood. But tonight, we debut a new installment to the high school sports series. Since being sanctioned in 1982, volleyball has seen significant growth in South Dakota, both in level of play and popularity. It's a sport that has become a staple of high school athletics in our state. I'm Nate Weck, and welcome to Parker. This is Tales from the Net.
Tales from the Net is supported with your membership in the Friends of SDPB. Thank you. With help from the Smith Farm Mutual Insurance of South Dakota, protecting big things, little things, and the things we all love about South Dakota for over 100 years. And from Black Hills Federal Credit Union. Since 1941, BHFCU's been offering South Dakotans options that fit their financial goals. From small towns to big dreams, we're here to improve lives and support the communities we call home. Learn more, bhfcu.com. And from Agtegra Cooperative, your local hometown cooperative, farmer-owned for over 100 years. Agtegra, strong, stable, dependable, and local.
Donors to the Explore South Dakota Fund support the production of local documentaries and other programs of local interest presented by SDPB. Friends of SDPB appreciates their support of this program.
Tonight's show is all about the leaders who mold our volleyball players, the coaches. We're going to share 3 stories with you in this program that highlight the stories around a few of our coaches in South Dakota. But before we do that, we need to take a moment to mention one of the all-time greats who called this gym in Parker home for so many years. Jill Christensen coached volleyball for 36 seasons and became the winningest coach in state history, with 837 career victories. Her teams qualified for the state tournament 14 times throughout her tenure, and she added a state championship in 1990 to her resume as well. Jill retired from coaching in 2019, but she's still active in the high school volleyball scene as an official today. Her resume extends well beyond the walls of this gym. She helped lay the foundation for volleyball in South Dakota and set a bar for other schools to aim for when building their programs. She's a true pioneer of the game. This December, Parker will hold a ceremony to honor Jill Christensen, along with legendary Parker boys basketball coach Gail Hoover, in the renaming of this floor to Hoover Christensen Court. Our first story tonight highlights a coach who knows Jill Christensen well, Jean O'Hara from Chester. Jean has built Chester into a Class B volleyball powerhouse, and it's not something that happened overnight. Chester's success is an example of hard work, commitment, and a strong culture. But as you'll see, volleyball isn't the only passion in Jean's life. Let's head up to Chester and check out the Harmony with the Flyers program. When you think of the Chester Flyers, volleyball is one of the first sports that seems to come to mind. The success is there with numerous state tournament appearances and 3 state championships in the past decade. One common key to the secret recipe has been Coach Jean O'Hara, who this season is coaching in her 25th year.
25 years has kind of gone by in a blur. It goes by really fast. Quarter of a century, I hadn't thought about it in that regard. It's been fantastic. Honestly, I truly get to do what I love every single day, and I'm so thankful for all of the students and student athletes that, I've gotten to work with and enjoy. So I feel pretty privileged to be able to have done that for that length of time.
And Thursday we are on the road at Madison. People wear our pinks. It is their thing.
We've really had to work to be able to maintain that level. I think part of it is longevity in staff. Coach Pods and I have worked together for every single one of those 25 years, and I think that makes a huge difference. I think even when you look at some of the strength of some of our programs across the state, and you look at the strength of a Northwestern or Warner, it's the same coaching staff that's been working with those kids for that length of time. And I think that builds some stability in the program. I think it builds trust amongst your players. And so I think that, of course, helps a lot. I think the level of play, that maybe we kind of, I hate to say demand, but maybe that we expect our players to be at, I think helps that. I think that we have our players involved in our youth programs, so involved, that when these kids were, third, fourth, and fifth graders, they wanted to be the older volleyball players.
Jean's passions in life are a bit different than you see with most high school coaches. While some coaches teach history, government, or math, Jean spends her time in the music room.
2 on the D, 2 on the A, just back and forth. You're not going to move your hand. You're just going to switch strings with that finger, right? First finger on both of them. So 10, 11. 10.
It's kind of an unusual combination, and depending on which hat I'm wearing, I tend to be the only music teacher in the volleyball coach's room, and I tend to be the only volleyball coach in the music teacher's room. But I love them both dearly, and I really would not feel, complete as a human being if I wasn't able to be doing both of them. Well, I started taking piano lessons when I was in kindergarten. Believe it or not, I started taking them from some nuns at a convent, and it was terrifying, actually. But then when I only did that for a couple years, and my mom was very musical, and I took piano lessons from my mom, and my mom taught piano lessons out of our home. As a kid, there was always extra students getting off the bus after school and taking piano lessons, and so it is something I've always loved and something I've always been involved in. It's fun every single day. My classroom is fun. I often joke around with them that, your algebra is important, calculus is important, your sciences are important. But you may not be doing those when you're 40 and 50 years old. You're still going to be singing. Being a good musician is really not unlike being a good volleyball player. There's so many intricate little things that the tiny things make you better, and when you can consistently do those little things better, you are going to get better as a whole, and your group is going to be better. And I am equally as demanding, in the choir room as I am on a volleyball court.
Volleyball debuted in Chester during the 1985-86 season, back when it was a winter sport. The head coach at that time was Jean's father, Steve.
Well, I played volleyball in the service, and they had no one else, and John Peterson, who was the superintendent, asked me if I'd be interested. I told him sure. I'd like to give it a try anyhow, and things took off from there. Oh, it's a lot different. Now they have rally scoring. Back then, you had to be serving before you could score a point. You could go 5-10 minutes without anybody scoring. So that was one major improvement that they made. Basically we run like a 4-2 offense back in the day. And now they run them with 6-2 and more complicated. There was no middle hitting and so forth. And nowadays they can hit from anywhere.
My mom and dad are our biggest fans. They come to every game if they can, and I always get to talk to them afterwards. And I love it because there's things Dad, still sees, that whether I see him or I don't, he will point them out. And we have a lot of really good, lively volleyball discussions. And I'm will be forever grateful for those discussions that we get to have. Dad always has thoughts. He still has thoughts, and I love to hear them.
Well, I throw out some suggestions. Sometimes she uses them, sometimes she doesn't, but I throw them out there anyhow. Oh, it makes me proud, you know, things that I tried to instill into the kids and so forth, and see her continue that and improve on them actually. Does a lot better job than I did with them. Makes me proud.
I just love being a Chester Flyer. I came in 8th grade, so I haven't been here like everyone else, but it feels like I have been here my whole life. So it's just pretty awesome that our environment's like that.
Honestly, it means a lot to me to be a Chester Flyer. I love the team. Everyone's so supportive, and like they're literally my family, so it means a lot to me.
It means everything. I mean, ever since we're little, we always like look forward to volleyball. We have such a good tradition here and stuff, so I think it just means everything to be here now and be a senior. It's everything that everyone hopes for when they come to Chester in elementary. They're just looking forward to being a part of volleyball.
She can be your best friend, but she's also going to be the one to push you on the days where you feel like you can't give everything. And so like you have that mix with her, and you know, you're able to go in her office, you know, like brief it out whenever you need to, but you're also, when you put your shoes on here, she's going to make sure you work hard, and she just makes sure everyone, like, you take accountability for yourself. And so I feel we kind of do a good job at that. She doesn't have to do that as much as she used to, because we're all so good with a lot of other things like that.
It's an honor to be here. You know, I think upon graduating, I'm not sure anyone ever makes it a plan that they think they're going to be back in the school, you know, that they maybe attended. And it makes me proud to be able to represent this building now as an employee, as a coach, as a mentor to, you know, young people in this building, to share my love of both, you know, the musical arts and volleyball with young people.
There are always challenges that coaches have to deal with. Some of those challenges can be minor, but others can be much bigger. The toughest challenges are those that are unexpected. For Sarah Tucker of Douglas, an incident occurred during the early portion of this season that put volleyball on the back burner.
Volleyball has been my passion since I was young. I started playing in middle school, and then I went on to play collegiate ball at National American University, and then also Huron University. And then after that, I started coaching in 2005, and I had some really great mentors throughout my coaching years, and this is my 20th year coaching now. My name is Sarah Tucker, and I'm the head volleyball coach at Douglas High School. It's crazy to look back at all the girls that I've coached. They're having kids of their own right now, and I've coached some of their little ones in little skills clinics and things. So it's really neat. It's a good full circle moment. And my club team, I've been able to coach one of my previous coach's daughters and things. So it's really neat. So on September 10th, actually, it was a normal day. I went and got my hair done that day. I went and picked up some shirts from one of our vendors and was just driving to school because we had team pictures that afternoon. Driving to school, and I just felt a really sharp pain in my chest as I was driving. And so I ended up pulling over in the admin building because I thought maybe it was just indigestion or something, and I wanted to lay down in the vehicle but not be surrounded by kids because that's kind of embarrassing. So I laid down, tried to go on my sides, and it wasn't getting any better. So I made it to the school, got into the nurse's office, which she was already gone for the day, and then my assistant, Mike, was there, and I had him take my blood pressure, and it kept reading air, and then finally, when it did go through, it was really high. And then it started getting worse, and so Mike was like, we're not waiting, let's go down to urgent care. We just recently had a new urgent care that's just right down the road, so I said, well, can we at least go through the back? Because I didn't want to make a scene. School was almost out, and I knew I had some athletes in the hall and everything. So we went through the theater, through the back way there. And my sister ended up pulling in just as we got there, and then went over to urgent care. My husband met us there. They hooked me up to an EKG machine and said, yeah, it's not normal. Ended up taking an ambulance, got to the hospital, and it was funny because the looks on everybody's face was like, wait, what? You have heart issues? Because, you know, I'm active. I don't look like your typical heart attack patient by any means. And then that's where they found that I had a tear in my artery. So they ultimately diagnosed me with SCAD, sudden coronary artery dissection, which is basically it's a tear in your artery that creates a little bit of a flap that not clogs your artery, but makes it so it can't go through as easy. And then also with SCAD, I was also diagnosed with broken heart syndrome. It was ultimately a heart attack.
It all happened so fast, and I thought it was a heart attack. Like, I didn't want to reach out to her. I didn't want to ask her any questions. I didn't want to put any stress on her whatsoever. Like, I'm also the head girls basketball coach here. So I kind of know what to do, and, you know, just coaching with her this long also, I know how she likes stuff done. So I just took over as she was still doing it, but it was me.
Like, obviously the first day we didn't really know what was going on, so it was a bunch of like overthinking. You didn't really know exactly what was going on, and then everyone was obviously just thinking every day, like, when's she coming back? When's she gonna be here? Like, it was pretty scary.
She did reach out. She FaceTimed us day 3 in the hospital of, okay, Friday, maybe I'm getting out. Nope. Okay, I'm gonna get out Saturday at noon. Nope. So I think just kind of stuff was settling in with her, and she just needed to hear from some of us, and it was good. The girls were all happy to hear from her. The taking over part, like I said, I just want to do what I thought Sarah would want us to do.
You know, I went from taking a daily multivitamin to having a pill case that has AM and PM and stuff, so that was a little bizarre, but down on meds. My blood pressure's low right now, but they need that to be low in order for the heart to completely heal. I think cardiac rehab has helped a lot. It's really interesting though, because obviously I'm one of the younger ones there, and so the shows on TV are like Gunsmoke and MASH and well beyond my time. So it's, but the people are so kind. It's we're all in the same boat. They're very caring. They worry if you're not there. And now it's just about managing stress and doing what I can so I can continue to coach this year. And then our club volleyball doesn't start till January. So then I'll have a couple months off, and then we'll be back at it.
September 27th, that was the first time she came back. Practice, game, anything. And she sat behind the bench, sat by the scorer's table. And it was a little different, and she didn't say much. And then now, starting this week on Monday, she was fully back. Oh, not fully back, but back to running practices, and then back to being on the bench. So it's been nice. You can tell she's feeling like herself again, because she's back to being Coach Tucker now.
It's definitely weird seeing her like not as in the motions like of the game. It's definitely weird seeing her sitting down during a game. She's usually up like yelling at us, but I think as a team we all just want to like try to impress her in some type of way, just to show her like we are here to like play for you, and that like we'll always be here for her even if she's just sitting down on like the bench. We have each other to lean on with it all. We've all had to rely on each other, and obviously our assistant coaches too. So we've just mainly been trying to work together to get through it. That's incredible that she's able to just come back that fast, and she's here and she's a strong person that can she's already back sitting on the bench with us, and it's pretty cool that she just got back out there and was able to do it.
The broken heart syndrome is almost completely resolved. I had another echo just a couple weeks ago, and my ejection fraction is back up to 55, so that's almost completely resolved. The SCAD itself will take a little bit longer to heal, just managed by meds, and actually see my cardiologist again in a week, so we're just hoping for the best. Coaching young athletes at any level, especially females, can be hard. I think that we make such an impact on these kids' lives well outside of volleyball. And they're not going to remember the wins and losses when they're older. They're going to remember the bus trips and the fun times and you being there for them. And I just think that recognizing that they're individuals and they're not just volleyball players and they're there for a reason and they need you more than you need them sometimes, in a sense, that's our job as a coach. And just to really care for these kids and teach them about the sport along the way, I think is great.
You love it, don't you?
I love it so much.
It's great to see Sarah Tucker back doing what she enjoys again, and we certainly wish her nothing but the best as she gets back to the normalcy that she loves in life. Our final story comes from the southern part of the Sioux Empire with Sioux Falls Christian. Since Darci Wassenaar has been their coach, the Chargers have won 13 state volleyball championships. It's an incredible run for one of the best programs in the state. But there's much more to Coach Wassenaar than being a great volleyball coach. We're going to take you behind the curtain and show you a special bond that Darci has with one of her assistant coaches. Despite there being a cloud of tragedy that hangs over this bond, it's surrounded with love and support.
Number 1, Brittany Vollmer.
For Brittany, volleyball was always a family connection, a bond she especially shared with her younger sister.
One, I just loved playing volleyball. Volleyball was also like a connection with like my little sister. Alyssa played volleyball, so I just have memories of like passing the volleyball back and forth in our backyard, and it was just a fun like connecting point with us.
A couple of years ago, Brittany had the chance to return to Sioux Falls Christian, the place where her love for the sport was fostered, but this time to coach.
Great, now we can get her in our program and have her work with our girls.
I remember her being like excited, like, you can coach like middle school now, like there's an opening, that would be fun to have you in the program.
The girls are drawn to her, and you know, when you get to know her and spend time with her, you know why.
Coaching at her alma mater was meaningful, but what made it truly special was who she was coaching with. Head coach Darci Wassenaar, one of the most respected and successful coaches in South Dakota volleyball history.
Darci is kind of like the full package. She like understands like the strategy behind volleyball, and just knows how to like push a team and try to meet a goal as best as we can. Also, when I played for her, like I felt like very like loved and cared for.
2 years after Brittany graduated high school, tragedy struck.
You don't know what's going to come, right? Like I taught Brittany in high school, and we had so much fun, and I would have had no idea, and she would have had no idea what was going to come in 2 years.
Her entire world changed in an instant.
It is the car crash that shocked our entire community.
Yeah, February 23rd, 2013, the Vollmer family was driving back from a basketball tournament in Mitchell when their vehicle crashed off of Interstate 90, killing Jim, Julie, 16-year-old Alyssa, and 13-year-old Caleb.
Spared from the wreckage, the Vollmer's oldest daughter, Brittany, who was away at college when this tragedy claimed her family.
You know, I remember that night very vividly, and to think back to that is tough. But we were actually here at school. Our school every year has something called the variety show. And I remember sitting there and seeing our superintendent walk out, and I thought, that's interesting. I wonder what's going on. I could see this and sense this feel of something was happening and didn't know why. And went out there and found out from our spiritual life director, our superintendent, that the Vollmer family had been in a car accident, and that all four of them that were currently here in Sioux Falls, so everyone other than Brittany, had passed away. And you're never ready for any kind of news like that.
With her extended family living more than 8 hours away, Darci stepped in.
I immediately said, "Where's Brittany and how is she?" And that was, God had put that on my heart right away.
Darci just felt like there was a need for her to be with me. She just felt like the tug on her heart to come and just be a physical like adult, like to just sit with me and cry with me and just make sure I'm taken care of, like in those like moments. It was nice to have someone who I like trusted and already had that deep relationship there in like the beginning nights. When I went back to college, she made it a point to text me every day, whether I reached out back to her or whether I was busy just with college stuff. She just really wanted me to know that like she wasn't going anywhere and she like wasn't moving on. She was just very like present and like deeply cared, and wanted me to be reminded of that every single day. And just the constant like verbal reassurance eventually like helped someone like realize, okay, like I can trust this person. I can like reach out whenever.
Darci and her husband opened their home and their family that summer to Brittany.
Darci and her husband just made it clear that that not only like I was welcome, but like that they like wanted me to like, yeah, be a part of their family. And she was also really good at like, she knew my family, so reassuring me that like she was never gonna be replacing my family, which was super comforting to me.
And then going home to my husband, Brian, and just asking him and saying, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And there was no hesitation. Immediately it was, well, yeah, definitely.
I mean, Brittany's our family, and all of our boys, she's their sister.
Reflecting back on the tragedy, Brittany realized that the loss didn't just break her heart, it shook her faith.
My main struggle is I was like questioning if God was really who he says he is. Darci was like very like impactful and influential.
When everything else is gone, like God is who is there, right? And so when your world comes crashing down and there's nothing else, God is there, and he really is.
And like I still have like very tough times where like I still need Darci to like still walk alongside me and like point me to Christ and remind me of like promises to cling to
walk through again those tough moments, those tough questions, and the wrestling with, you know, why and where is God in this and how do I walk through this, and to see God's faithfulness in her life and to see her cling to his promises and to know that they really are true. What was amazing to see, and just to see the depth of her faith in that.
The two now stand side by side, coach and assistant coach, but really, their bond is something much deeper.
Before, I was always a Christian coach, right? I've always been a Christian, but I think I easily got caught up in success and the wins and losses. I knew my coaching had to be different if I was going to continue to coach. I made the faith part of coaching on our team the most important, and not the wins and losses. And the wins and losses are great, right? It's not that we don't try to win anymore. I mean, that's still there, but I needed the faith to be the center part of it.
Volleyball brought them together. Tragedy bound them. Faith and purpose now drive them forward. They've won championships together, but their greatest victory is the one no scoreboard can capture. The victory of choosing love in the midst of loss and family in the face of tragedy.
Coaching high school kids can certainly be difficult at times, but if you ask any coach why they do it, they'll tell you it's because they love it. While tonight is just a small sample of some of the best leaders that we have, it certainly doesn't end here. In any gym, in any sport, these coaches devote countless hours to do what they do because they truly can't imagine not doing it. They love sports, they enjoy working with kids and watching them grow, and they believe in making a difference. We'd like to thank you for joining us tonight for Tales from the Net. I'm Nate Weck saying so long from Parker.